This holiday season, give your loved ones something they'll enjoy for years to come. An Aura frame. It's a gorgeous digital photo frame that you can preload with photos. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code CityCast at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code CityCast. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. And support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. CityCast Seattle is made possible by AT&T. America's first network is also its fastest and most reliable. Based on RootMetrics' United States Root Score Report, 1H 2025. Tested with best commercially available smartphones on 3 national mobile networks across all available network types. Your experiences may vary. RootMetrics rankings are not an endorsement of AT&T. When you compare, there's no comparison. AT&T. This is CityCast Seattle. I'm Jane C. Hu, and here's what Seattle's talking about. Today on CityCast Seattle, how in-person shopping has changed over the years, preparing your go bag, and our state's massive budget shortfall. But first, speaking of budget shortfalls, I wanted to ask Hannah Krieg, Seattle's reporter without a boss and founder of The Burner, if you needed to enact a personal austerity budget, what would you cut?
If. What do you mean if? I am always in austerity.
Well, what are you cutting for 2026?
What am I cutting for 2026? I am trying to drink less alcohol outside of my house.
Hey.
I'm a big proponent of the pregame with 4 Freedoms vodka and 5-calorie cranberry juice, and then just 1 drink outside of the house unless someone else is paying. That's my austerity budgeting.
Smart and good for you.
Okay, good for you.
What about you, creative producer Liam Billingham?
Hi, Jane. Mine a little bit ties into Hannah's, which is I have a habit of having 1 martini at home and then buying books and Blu-rays on the internet.
Oh, shit.
And it's not great because I'll be like, it's $25. So I think the tipsy shopping is really what. So maybe if I do what Hannah does, I'll cut out the alcohol and then I won't do the tipsy shopping.
I don't know how you're really going to enact that. Yeah, I guess I feel like...
Thanks, Jane. Thank you for that vote of encouragement. I really appreciate that.
It seems like the difficult thing about enacting a personal austerity budget is that you have to have the self-control. Whereas, if we're talking about like a state budget, someone else has to put levers in place to make sure that that's happening. And it turns out that Washington's budget right now has a multi-billion-dollar shortfall. So the current budget was passed in May for the 2025 to 2027 biennium. But we're forecast to see lower revenue collections by at least like $390 million is what I've seen. So some of that is driven by like lower expectations for how much housing construction is going to be happening. People are going to potentially be making less money overall. And so the state has already cut around $8 billion, but they need to shave off even more. And our governor, Bob Ferguson, says that he will only be cutting items, not adding any taxes. Hannah, I know you've written about this. Why is Ferguson so reticent to adding new taxes? Like, why are we only cutting things?
I mean, he might be a Republican. This is his thing. He's a moderate Democrat. I think maybe in his soul, he wants to be the governor of the liberal state that tames the progressive Democrats so he can run for president. And so I think there's like slightly that motivation. There's also the motivation of big business, like down his throat, telling him you are absolutely not to levy more taxes on us, or we will make sure you are never governor in this state again.
Do we know what's getting cut?
Not yet. His budget is supposed to come out later this month, I believe, or in January at the start of the session.
Yeah, I know that this is projected to be the big point of discussion starting in January. So I know Sean Scott has meanwhile moved to enact a version of jumpstart payroll taxes at the state level, which would, instead of just cutting, would actually potentially raise some revenue for the state. Companies that were making more than $7 million would be taxed. I mean, this could theoretically raise $2 billion. Curious what you all think of this.
Just a quick note. There is this socialist kind of proposal that's being championed by Senator Saldana and Representative Scott, which is the payroll tax, and that would raise, I think, about $4 billion. And then there's a separate proposal that's more like House Democrats who are backing it, so it has a little more maybe momentum behind it, and that's going to be a flat income tax of 9.9% for earners over $1 million, and that could potentially raise $3 billion. So they are separate proposals.
Gotcha. Okay. What do we think of this? And also, what kind of chances do we stand at actually having this be our reality instead of just cuts?
It's unclear how much support is going to be behind this payroll tax. I went to the press conference earlier last week, and there were no other lawmakers besides Representative Scott. And so I'm not sure how much of his caucus supports it. Seems like there might be a little more support with this income tax, but that's also going to face huge opposition in in public testimony and from big business. So I mean, they couldn't get the wealth tax super across the finish line last session with Bob Ferguson and all the lobbying. So it'll have to be, they'll have to attack even harder these Democrats to make sure that this happens if they want it.
Liam, how do you feel about taxation versus cuts?
I think you have to figure out a way to deal with these shortfalls, right? I'm not a proponent necessarily of austerity, but I think one of the tricky things about the role of a governor, no matter how you feel about them, is that they're trying to satisfy multiple different constituencies, and they are beholden to these larger businesses that want to continue to operate and do so with minimal expenditure on their part. But I'm also not opposed, again, to imposing taxes on larger earners. I think it is logical.
Speaking of big business, I remember back in 2018 when Amazon was like, hey, we might leave. They were talking about starting HQ2, maybe even trying to start multiple other HQ locations. And I remember folks in town being pretty freaked out about that. Could Amazon actually move away? How is that going to change the city? And I mean, I do wonder how much pushback we might see from big businesses if we do try and have some more statewide taxes.
I mean, that's kind of the benefit of it being statewide versus a city or a county level tax. It's a little bit harder for them to move in so far as they do. And there's not a ton of evidence to suggest that they're moving in large numbers or anything, especially with something like an income tax. And as for the businesses, it's just where are they going to go? Even they say Vancouver, Canada is known for taxing. So it's just interesting to hear that there's this magical place that's somehow more of a tax haven than Washington, which I just think is not the case given that Washington is the 49th most aggressive tax code in the nation, beat only by Florida, and young professionals who are working in tech don't necessarily want to live in Florida when there's threats of abortion bans. People want to live in Washington for a lot of reasons, and I think businesses will know that, and that's why they're headquartered here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand where else you could go that would have a more favorable tax system and be a place that, your tech workers would necessarily want to move. Not to mention that you would have to find a workforce of many tens of thousands of people.
You're not going to necessarily get that same pool in Florida. Are a bunch of retirees going to be I'm going to learn to code? It's just not going to happen, right? So you do need to be in the places that are attractive for people to live and to work.
Wouldn't that be sick, though, if a bunch of retirees learned how to code?
Ooh, let's write a screenplay, Jane. Let's
But okay, so one other thing you mentioned in your piece about this, Hannah, is that Ferguson's approval rating for his first 6 months is the lowest of any governor since Mike Lowry in 1993. And it seems like Democrats were unsatisfied with him. His approval rating went down with them. but more Republicans than ever are in support of what Ferguson's up to. I mean, I feel like he was fairly well respected as Attorney General. What's happening?
I love this question. As Attorney General, he never had to deal with the tax question. He just got to be the guy who sued Trump 99 times. And so the Democrats got to say, well, we like this guy. He's suing Trump. That's awesome. He's holding Facebook accountable, and he's, doing all this like stuff that can seem pretty progressive. And then now he has this whole other responsibility. And he has shown that he is pretty fiscally conservative in that arena.
Washington, to me, is such an interesting state because it is really progressive, but it's also beholden to have made bed with all these giant tech companies who are employing a ton of people. And, if I think a lot of, obviously, this talk about them moving or shrinking in some ways is overblown, though they are laying a lot of people off right now. But it's like it's like strange bedfellows in this state a little bit, right? Like you're beholden to these tech companies, but also people don't want tech monopolies running or ruining their lives. So I would not want to be on Ferguson's position, long story short.
Yeah, it does seem difficult.
Ferguson might not be in Ferguson's position for very long. So.
yeah. Well, there's that too, right? Yeah, no, sure.
I was always just kind of confused by people who thought that Ferguson was going to be a super progressive because, I don't know, I always just kind of thought of him as like the Joe Biden of governors a little bit. But it's interesting to see how that's playing out in terms of approval ratings and just general public sentiment.
I think you're totally right, Jane. Like, I don't think he ran in a way that's disingenuous with how he's governed. He famously yelled at me in an endorsement meeting for asking about taxes. He's always been when he was running, he was always supporting giving more money for law enforcement. So it's this isn't new for his campaign, but I do think it is maybe surprising given his record as Attorney General, or just something we maybe didn't consider.
I also think people like attorney generals to be attack dogs. Right? Yeah. That's kind of that's a valued and looked at, that's your job, So and then you become governor and it's you have to satisfy everyone.
It's true.
It seems impossible.
Well, maybe the next election cycle, one of the 85 other Bob Fergusons will run again.
They're multiplying. No.
Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, Liam has a little rant for us. The holidays are coming up. Maybe you've got family coming to town and you want to show them a good time. Or maybe you have a few days off and you want to treat yourself to a little staycation. One of my favorite things is to hop on the ferry and head over to Bainbridge Island. I always feel like I'm in a movie when I'm on the ferry, whether they're the dramatic views of the Seattle skyline or just moody fog. And once you're on Bainbridge, there's a lot to do. Their downtown is super close to the ferry terminal, and you can just go right over and do your holiday shopping. There's this amazing antique store where I once got these Japanese woodcut coasters that I get compliments on all the time. You could also check out the Bainbridge Bakery Trail. There are 10 bakeries and cafes with vegan and gluten-free options, all within walking distance of the ferry, and another 6 if you've got wheels. Go to visitbainbridgeisland.org and check out the bakery trail under things to do. Or follow Visit Bainbridge on Instagram at visitbainbridgeislandwa. It's apple season here in Washington, and there's no better time to go check out Seattle Cider Company, which uses fresh-pressed Washington apples, never from concentrate, in their ciders. They're a local gem based in SoDo who have been making craft cider since 2013. Bring the whole family and go visit their all-ages tap room, which features rotating small batch and limited release ciders. They've currently got a vivid light cider line with new flavors like tart apple, juicy pear, bright cherry, fresh peach, wild blueberry, and ripe plum. You can also pick up a 6 or 12 pack to go. Personally, I'm going to pick up some cans of the bright cherry to take to my next board game night with friends. Find Seattle Cider on the web at seattlecidercompany.com to check out the cider lineup and view upcoming taproom events. You can also use their cider finder to find local bars, restaurants, and grocery stores that sell Seattle cider. Liam, as I understand it, you want to get something off your chest about Seattle grocery stores and pharmacies.
Yes. I go to the lower Queen Anne CVS to pick up my medication. I always have a very positive experience with the pharmacy staff there. I got some vaccines at their little minute clinic there. The one was so nice. And every time I'm there, I'm like, oh, I need shampoo. And I walk over to buy the shampoo. And if there even is shampoo, it's behind lock and key. And I have to push a button, and it feels very humiliating and stupid to stand there and wait for the guy to come over. And I'm like, long story short, I hate that so many of the products that we have to buy are under anti-theft device. And it's driving me crazy. And Vivian McCall from The Stranger had a piece about this. I believe it was called Hell is a Grocery Store, which is a great title for a Smith song. And it came out on Friday. And it was basically about how she had this experience buying ice cream. And if you've had to buy liquor or buy anything at the grocery store, you push the button and you're almost apologizing. Hi, thank you. I need your help. And it feels humiliating and stupid for both parties.
Yeah.
And just feels like unnecessary late stage capitalism nonsense.
I do feel like I'm in it together with the employee where I'm like, I'm so sorry to bother you. I know you've had to do this like 55 times today. I wish it weren't this way, and probably so do you. Hannah, have you noticed this as well? Like, has this affected your shopping experience?
It feels like the meme of the little cat where it's like, Mom, I threw up. Like, that's how I feel.
Mom, I threw it up.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like so embarrassed. And it's like at the QFC that I shop at, the more carceral, the two QFCs on Broadway, it's not even that just it's locked up. There's stuff that's locked up in like a different section than it would be before. And I had this horrible experience when I was buying a pregnancy test, and I realized I had to ask the 20-year-old cashier to get me a pregnancy test. So this is just embarrassing for me. And I tweeted about it, and Councilmember Joy Hollingsworth, former staffer, was making fun of me. It was a horrible experience for everyone.
That feels like an out-of-body experience to have. I also do like referring to the more or the less carceral QFC. It reminds me of during the Chop Chaz stuff in 2020, someone referred to one of the Safeways as a regime-occupied Safeway. Which I really, really loved. But that's how we should refer to those QFCs at this point. Okay, so we've all had these experiences at the grocery store / pharmacy, especially the closer into the center of town you are, the more likely that is to be the case. Liam, why is this happening?
Well, it's interesting that you bring up the pandemic or 2020. You would see these articles about 50 guys went into the Best Buy and stole 50 TV. There were these really what felt clearly exaggerated stories. And so in 2022, Forbes had this article, nearly 70% of retailers reported a rise in organized retail crime, contributing to theft and losses of as much as, and Jane, I'm going to need you here for a second, $69 billion a year. So-called retail gangs were performing, quote, coordinated attacks, targeting products they could, quote, steal in bulk and easily resell online, with some groups netting millions in profits. But then you have the same report that from the Council on Criminal Justice that shoplifting trends in 24 cities went down 2/3, according to the LA Times. So you on the one hand, you have a report that they're stealing everything. And that's where this policy or this continued, need to put everything behind lock and key has come from, I feel.
Yeah. Loss prevention. But it's also how much did it cost to install all of those shitty little plastic containers? And how much does it cost in terms of human labor to, I don't know, that seems like a very unmeasurable thing, actually. And maybe that's part of the problem.
You go to that CVS in Queen Anne, there's 2 people working there. There's that one manager who's really nice, and I can't imagine being that man. And then the 1 or 2 other people that are there. But they also say, according to Forbes also, that customers finding stuff locked up reduced in a 15 to 25% reduction in sales. Because I think you really are I'll just go to another store.
Yeah, I don't want to be standing there for a full 5 to 10 minutes waiting for someone to come unlock this thing for me.
I think even worse, they're sacrificing to the retail market online. Why would you go to QFC when you could order your pregnancy tests online from Amazon and it comes maybe in 30 minutes soon? You know, it's like they're really ceding ground to like the online retailers.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
I mean, what are ways that we could make in-person shopping better besides not having those things?
That is a good question. I mean, hire more people to work in the store and pay attention and be helpful. And don't humiliate people by asking if they can buy something that they use like for hygiene and getting someone to get it for them, right? Like it feels weird.
Yeah, and more people who don't look like they're in the army. I don't know why there's TSA between me and going into the QFC to buy a croissant. Like and then I had to show them my receipt now, and it's a whole thing, and I always have 10 things in my hand because I can't get off my freaking phone for 3 seconds, and it's horrible. It's horrible.
I'm always confused about what the science is about looking at the receipt. I mean, I know that there's no science actually now that I'm saying that out loud, but like I feel like half of the time they kind of look at it, and then the other half they just kind of like wave me along, and I don't know how much of that is like my identity also, right? Like I think statistically speaking, an Asian presenting person, just by stereotype, like I think they kind of just like let me walk out, and I'm always like, I don't know, this doesn't seem like the greatest system if we're thinking about loss prevention here, like, but maybe part of it is the slot machine aspect of it, like sometimes we check, sometimes we don't, but it makes the whole experience confusing for me. I'm like, do I have to have my receipt out and ready for you to take a look, or are you just gonna like wave me through?
I've definitely seen like the security guards at my QFC will like tell knock jokes to me on my way out, but like they're basically patting down like teenage Black boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All of it feels very like not human, or not humane would be the better way to think about it. And I'm much less affected by it than the people you're describing. So
you've got like the different. All-seeing eye of Sauron.
The panopticon.
Kind of. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, let's talk about more consumerism. No, we'll be talking about emergency kits, but my problem with it is that I have to buy things for it. The holidays are coming up, and if you're looking for something festive to do, check out the Argosy Cruises Christmas Ship Festival. You'll sail aboard the Spirit of Seattle with hundreds of twinkly lights as she visits 40 waterfront communities across Puget Sound. On board, you'll be surrounded by festive fun. There are going to be live holiday choir performances, warm drinks, cozy indoor seating, gorgeous views, and even a visit from Santa. With departure locations in downtown Seattle, Kirkland, Renton, Ballard, Leschi, Edmonds, South Lake Union, and Tacoma, there's a sailing for everyone. And every ticket supports the season of giving, with a portion of proceeds donated to the Seattle Times Fund for those in need, helping several local charities. Make some new holiday memories and book your Christmas ship cruise at argosycruises.com. Okay, so do you all have an emergency kit? Because I've been thinking about this a lot this week with the atmospheric river coming through. I feel like I keep getting alerts from county and state officials being like, be prepared, have your emergency kit prepared. And I'm like, oh no, this is another way that I've already failed in my life. But do you all have an emergency kit?
No.
Good. Thank you, Hannah, for justifying my lack of preparedness.
In California, when we lived there, we had like the makings of one. It was like bags of food, but like a lot of it was canned stuff because you want the stuff that lasts. And I don't know if we had a can opener in there. And I get a lot of anxiety. I mean, I think we all get a lot of anxiety thinking about this stuff, but also like the thought of like, I have to make a kit to survive for 2 weeks if there's an earthquake or whatever. It feels like you can never really complete that on some weird level. So yeah, we had one, and I don't know what happened to it when we moved. So I'm going to answer no.
Okay, so no, all three of us are not prepared. I mean, one of the things you just brought up, actually, Liam, is one of my hurdles to this. So like, I have a can opener, right? But it's like in my kitchen, which is getting used to open cans when I need to open cans. Am I supposed to just like buy duplicates of everything and just have them sitting in some bag? Like,
yes,
I think yes. It does feel like consumerism final boss in a way to like, I mean, I guess like maybe in my ideal world, I would like go to Goodwill and like find a used can opener and then feel slightly better about having a duplicate can opener. But that kind of thing stresses me out. I'm curious what barriers to having a go bag you all have faced. Like, why don't you have one?
If there's an earthquake, I live in a basement. I'm not concerned about surviving the initial blast.
You'll just be dead.
I think so. I'm like, where am I gonna go? I don't know. I guess I just haven't thought about that much. Maybe I need to be more proactive.
It's hard to think about though, because it's like, what do we do if the world ends? Like, oh, I've got my beans. Like, I'm all set. I don't know.
Yeah, I will say that there was a time where I was like, maybe I'll get really into prepping. But I think in the last few years, I've become more of a, like, I'll just go with God kind of thing. Like, Hannah, like, maybe I'll just die in my basement. Like, but I do think one difficulty in preparing for some kind of go bag situation is like, what is the situation, right? It's like, it could be an earthquake. It could be, I mean, an atmospheric river. I feel like in this case, like the worst case scenario, well, there's flooding depending on where you live. But you know, if you're not in a flood prone area, maybe it's like losing power for a few days. But then you've also got like so many other things that could happen, like a wildfire. You've got like in the less but still possible category, like some kind of pandemic or a zombie apocalypse or
there's not going to be
insurrection. But yeah, I mean, it's just hard to know what you're preparing for. And it seems like you would really want to have different things depending on what the emergency is. I mean, Liam, I'm guessing that when you had your go bag in California, was that mostly like for earthquake related stuff or what?
Yeah, it was like, well, fires. I mean, there was definitely, I was there in January 2025, so we packed the car up. There's a couple of important things that I think don't get mentioned enough. Get your like passport and your important documents that you can like move out very, very quickly. Our co-creative producer, Sam, they just messaged me and said, it's a good idea to have like a 5-minute, if you have to leave the house in 5 minutes, what are the things you should take and where are they? And maybe distribute copies of that list in the rooms where they are, where they need to be. So passport, birth certificate, any documents that are valid. I've heard you should have clear copies of your insurance policies if you're a homeowner or something. And there's a possibility that, because having to deal with that kind of stuff is insane. And so it's a good idea to have those kind of materials. Anything that you need sort of like long-term, if you do like, lose your stuff or lose a home or whatever it happens to be.
I think if you're like a last minute packer for any trip, then you already have training for this. Honestly,
that is not the lesson that I wanted you to take from this.
I think having a list would be a really good idea, but like executing it, it's like, I don't know, if you're like me and you try and pack in the last like 10 minutes before you need to go, you're like, what is it that I need? And you get really good at remembering all of the things you need to leave your house for several days. And I think you can go on that same list for your 5-minute packing list.
And one of the big challenges to all this is medication. Like I take happy pills and focus pills. Like it's really hard to get duplicates for that kind of stuff. And it's really hard to get access.
I mean, okay, here's my question for both of you, since it seems like at some point you both had access to such a bag. Where is the bag kept?
Back closet of the house.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my family's was like where the shoes were, like in the laundry room.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, because I always struggle to think of a place that it would go that would be easy to grab and not just immediately buried if I needed to grab it quickly. Like, because I don't know. I don't like clutter, but at the same time, it's like in that moment, you're really going to want to have that thing accessible. So,
one tip that we got from an anonymous source, just kidding, from Sam, put it in the trunk of your car.
Oh, but what if you don't have a car?
Put it on your back and just carry it around everywhere you go.
What if you don't want to put things in your car because your car got broken into and you don't want to have anything in there?
Jane, we're going to start charging hourly for this.
I want to be clear that I am very pro having a go bag, and I hope if you're listening, you consider doing it. I guess I'm just trying to talk through some of my own difficulties with it in hopes that...
Understandable.
Yeah, well, in hopes that I can figure out a solution, because I feel like part of what feels overwhelming about it is the many decisions you must make about it. I will say that the city of Seattle has a good list available. So does King County. So at least some of the thinking is taken out of like what needs to go in this thing. I feel like some of the logistics, like you mentioned, Liam, like medications gets a little tricky, but maybe I shouldn't let perfect be the enemy of good, you know? Like,
Totally.
I'll just kind of put together kind of a 70% good bag, knowing that it's not totally complete.
I think you just need to have stuff you can eat that doesn't require cooking. And also, my advice would be think about Cookie, your dog, and make sure you have food for Cookie and whatever Cookie needs. Because that's something people, I think, forget about is their pets.
That is the most important thing. I mean, honestly, I think like we would just give Cookie our food if we forgot that.
Cookie eats you guys. That's
Dark.
You heard it here.
Last question. Have you all ever thought about who would be on your apocalypse team? I don't think it has to be an apocalypse necessarily, but on your emergency team. Like, do you all have a plan for like who you'd want to be with for that?
Well, first of all, my wife, she's incredibly prepared, minded, very like smart, and is an anxious person, and always is thinking ahead a million stops. So I wouldn't want my children because they're not that helpful, but I suppose I should take them. And then
Sorry,
my other
Liam's
choice,
kids.
my other choice, and it's unfortunate because he lives across the country, is my brother-in-law, because he's like a guy that really very chill, can solve problems, doesn't freak out about everything like everyone else in my family. So that would be my pick. My wife, my children, and my brother-in-law.
Okay, it could be like a Last of Us situation where you drive across the country to eventually intersect with him and find that he started his own city or whatever.
And it has old people coding in it.
Yeah, right. What about you?
Oh my God. I thought I would think of something in that time, but I have no idea. Maybe my dear friend Ashley Nurbavig, because we've survived so many crises together. And she'd always have like a portable charger.
My mind always goes to my friends who have specific skills, like friends who are particularly good at gardening, friends who are particularly good at mending or sewing new clothes, or people who are really good at fixing like electronics, like skills I don't have, which is most of them besides, writing, which is, I guess, maybe something we eventually would need to preserve as a culture.
Absolutely.
Okay, luckily, I don't think we're going to need all of that to survive the atmospheric river. I do hope that people take some precautions and use this as an opportunity to think about how they might be better prepared. I know I certainly will get started on putting a little bag together. That's all for today here at CityCast Seattle. I'm your host, Jane Sihu. Hannah Krieg, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Liam, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
All right, listeners, we want to hear from you. Drop me a line telling me how you've put together your emergency kit, or ask us a burning question you have about something you've noticed in town by emailing seattle@citycast.fm. You can also text us or leave us a voicemail on the CityCast hotline at 206-880-3931. If you're enjoying the podcast, follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen so you never miss an episode, and leave us a nice little review, please. You can get more local news and events delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter. Just go to seattle.citycast.fm. Until next time, see ya, Seattle.